was at Barnes & Noble yesterday out on a date with my wife when I walked up to the cash register and saw the New Time magazine, How Guns Won, Why Americans Have Turned Against Gun Control by Joe Klein, who's a member of the Council on Foreign Relations and an avowed globalist. You can go up to Infowars.com right now on the front page and featured stories. It's the image we have there. We have an arrow pointing down, and it says, we woke up to the fact that you are control freak tyrants who want disarmed slaves. You can have your way with Infowars.com. And we answer the question, because he says how it happened and how terrible it is. And as soon as I saw this, I bought 4 or 5 copies because I had been in a meeting Thursday in this studio after the show with some prominent Second Amendment people, I'll just leave it at that, who were visiting the studio. And I said, look, we've won with the hearts and minds. We've won. I've seen a lot of the polls out there. Over 70% are now pro-gun. Back in the 60s, it was 50-50. We're winning on abortion now, especially with young people. Over 80% in many polls are against it. Those numbers have flipped the last 40 years since Roe v. Wade. So all of this is going on. All of this is happening. But I went on to tell my wife and also the cashier at Barnes & Noble's and then some listeners later at the grocery store who I was talking to that just because we've won the hearts and minds doesn't mean we've won the war. Because the system doesn't care at many levels if we don't like what they're doing. They're going to go ahead with it. Now, it's good to have people awakening. They're not awake fully. They're awakening. That's a huge victory. We are in the fight. We're not in a coma being fed on by these globalist vampires. But they are now going to come down with both feet. They're going to come down with both feet on top of us. And that's why I announced you will see the conservative leadership, who aren't really conservatives. They've been having to play the conservative leadership so they can control the globalist game, along with their counterparts, the so-called liberals. You are now going to see, well, we've seen Bill Kristol come out on Fox and say ban all semi-autos. We've seen Rupert Murdoch come out and call for gun restrictions, banning all semi-auto. We've seen Justice Scalia come out and say, oh, well, our ruling, and I pointed this out a few years ago with the ruling. I said, folks, it says in the ruling you have a right to keep and bear arms, but that they can restrict it, that they can define what that right is. So they can say you have a right to own a gun on a blue moon if you're standing on top of the outhouse with your thumbs up your nose while whistling Dixie. And that's basically what he said. So get ready, because they've got the entire power structure panicking right now. They've committed all these criminal actions, all these takeovers. And they know you're awake and they know you're getting armed, and they're coming for the guns. Now, I've also seen this disinfo meme out there that we've defeated the UN gun restriction. Just like we had defeated the NDAA and the Patriot Act and everything else. No, they have not agreed upon the language of it yet, because it did state in Article 15 to use foreign troops in states that don't disarm. So that's not dead either. They're simply playing possum. We're going to break all this down. It's a very important transmission. Stay with us, the good news and the bad news. Straight ahead, I'm Alex Jones. Alex Jones here with a very important announcement for truth seekers. We've carried a lot of amazing films and books over the years on the online video bookstore at Infowars.com. And out of all the titles we've carried, one stands out because it is just so chillingly convincing. And that's Dreams from My Real Father by Joel Gilbert, available at Infowars.com. This film exposes the fraud that Obama is like nothing I've seen. If you want to know who Obama's real daddy is, this is the film for you. Don't forget, your purchase supports our broadcast and our growing media network. You'll also find at InfoWarsShop.com None Dare Call a Conspiracy by Gary Allen, the book that woke me up. We're also carrying Behind the Green Mask, UN Agenda 21 by Rosa Corey. This book is coffin nails to the globalist takeover. The Greater Good The most professional and up-to-date film I've ever seen exposing the scourge that is vaccines. These titles and a lot more are all available at InfoWarsShop.com. What an incredibly important transmission. It's days like this I'm glad that I'm on air 6 days a week with the weekday show, noon to 3 Eastern, and then InfoWars Nightly News, 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central, and then, of course, the Sunday transmission, 4 to 6 Central, because there is so much incredible news breaking. Just last Thursday, I was having a meeting here in this broadcast studio with some visitors about a Second Amendment television program we're developing. It's titled Brothers in Arms. And I made the declaration that the only thing left intact of the Bill of Rights and Constitution, the only thing left to a great extent is the Second Amendment. It's the mark of a free person. And I made the declaration that the power structure that's hijacked this country has lost, has failed. I made that declaration to the visitors that were here in my studio, and they agreed, knowing that gun culture is spreading everywhere. And it's something that brings together old, young, north, south, east, west, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, Christian, Muslim, Jewish, agnostic, atheist. People get it, that having a gun protects you from criminals. It makes you sleep good at night. It's not the big scary thing the media tells us about. Statistically, you've got on average, 12 times the chance, look it up for yourself in the World Almanac, to die in a car wreck than from a gun. It's way down the line for things that are dangerous. Mass shootings in the last 20 years. We have the statistics up at Infowars.com from the Justice Department, an article Kurt Nimmo wrote, Establishment Media Circles the Wagons on Gun Control. The fact that mass shootings are flat in the last 20 years. And that overall crime has gone down when we're talking about muggings and aggravated assaults and home invasions, because criminals know that a woman jogging's probably got a .25 caliber little handgun. They know if they bust in most people's houses, they're dead, except for New York and Chicago that have total gun bans and have crime literally off the charts. In some cases, it's more than 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. Muggings, I've seen numbers are over 20 times higher in New York than anywhere else in the country. And why is that? I mean, I've been on the New York subway, and I don't look like a wimp. I weigh 240 pounds. Come over and try to intimidate me like, that's a nice watch. What you got in your wallet? And you say, I'm about to stomp your head in. They leave you alone. But most people get scared and just give it to them, and they can say, oh, it's not a theft. You just gave it to me. But literally you say, well, you can have this watch over my dead body. How about I stomp your head in right now? Hey, man, I just wanted to know about your watch. Rob Jacobson, who grew up in New York, born in New York, when he was going to college every day, had to ride the subway, 7 a.m. in the morning, and he had people almost every time try to take his watch until he just stopped wearing it because he had to fight for the watch his parents had given him at his high school graduation. I don't want to live like that, and you don't want to live like that either. And so this is bringing us together just as it did in 1776 when the Redcoats came to confiscate the legally owned firearms of British citizens. And they said, so what if we're in colonies? We're British citizens. They had a right to keep and bear arms over in England. They'd fought in the Magna Carta in 1215 over and over again for the right to keep and bear arms. It didn't originate here. It originated in Switzerland, in the Netherlands, and in England. And let me tell you, it's revolutionary. Free men can have swords and muskets and whatever weapons the system has. Free men. The first gun laws in this country after the Civil War, blacks were getting guns. Blacks were defending themselves. The Ku Klux Klan couldn't just come to their house and burn it down anymore. They were met by black free people with shotguns. And believe me, they didn't like it. So they passed laws to restrict their right. That's where gun control came from. And if you look at the history of gun control worldwide, it is incredible. Hundreds of millions killed in the last century after governments take their guns. Look up democide, death by government. This is about tyranny. And if you go to Infowars.com, we have a photo shot of the latest Time magazine, August 6th issue. And it says, How Guns Won, Why Americans Have Turned Against Gun Control by Anti-American, Anti-Freedom, and Pro-Victim Disarmament Tyrant Joe Klein, Mr. CFR, a group sworn to destroy U.S. sovereignty. And under it, I put the little caption, We woke up to the fact you are control freak tyrants who want disarmed slaves. Because they asked the question, how guns won? Well, the answer is, we woke up. We get it. It isn't about our safety. It isn't about, we saw Katrina high and dry, the military commanded by the feds to come take guns. We see the urban warfare drills. We get it. We understand it. We don't call a cop. We call Smith & Wesson. People get it. They understand it. I'm a public figure. You think I'm worried about somebody coming after me around here? I got a firearm right underneath this desk, ladies and gentlemen. People that have concealed carries around here and are trained, say, bring them. We live in a safe environment, safer. We don't live in fear. You come and start busting in my house, you're dead. Instant access pistol safe in every major room. Boom. 1 second, I'm locked and loaded. You are going to be breathing out of more than one hole. You got that? You try to tread on me, you think you're going to roll over me, isn't going to happen. Find somebody else to go feed on, like in North Korea and Mexico, where they have total victim disarmament, and look at the hellholes they are. Look at England, where they have muggings off the chart as bad as New York or Chicago. Their crime rate is way above ours since they took guns 16 years ago. They import all these people from violent third world countries, and the Brits who've been trained to lay down to tyranny, they prosecute you if you defend yourself in your own home with your fist while your wife's being raped, while you're being attacked. Look it up. They've had people who grabbed a guy off his wife, raping her, and throws the guy, and he falls out a window, and the police come arrest him. The state doesn't want you defending yourself because it's run by criminals. It's a criminal class now at the top that wants to feed on the people. So what's my big announcement? Why is this show so important today when we come back from break in a moment? I mean, get your pad and paper ready, your pen and paper ready. Just stand by to write down and take notes, folks, because I'm going to give you the proof. Let me tell you, when they announce how guns won, look out. Because here, that's the good news. The good news is, yes, we're winning the intellectual fight. The good news is we're winning on abortion. The numbers have flipped since Roe v. Wade in 1973, 39 years ago, almost 40 years ago. People are now anti-abortion. They know it's a human. They know it's destructive. They know it's not just some choice. They understand it's dehumanizing. They understand it's barbarous. They understand Planned Parenthood's a eugenicist front. They know. Upwards of 80% of young people especially are anti-abortion now. You failed. You failed, New World Order. You're failing. You have a 9% approval rating, Congress. All of your programs are unpopular now. No matter how many foreigners you bring in and try to get on the government dole, get on the government mammary wagon, gravy train, no matter what you do, you are failing right now. But the bad news, I will give you when we get back. We're winning the intellectual battle. But I'll give you the bad news when we come back from break, and it's bad. But the good news is we're winning the hearts and minds. The bad news straight ahead. Oh, and I've got the bad news. But to defeat the globalists, we've got to know the bad news. Ignoring the bad news, ignoring the problem got us where we're at today. Waking up to the problem, not compromising, getting aggressive, getting in the tyrants' faces is going to haul us out of the fire.
Everything we said came true. Everything we've done has been right.
So, Time magazine, that'll soon probably be defunct, just like Newsweek is about to end its print version, and hardly anybody reads their online version either, because they're known enemies of this country. These aren't just well-meaning, dumb liberals. These are people that want to end our sovereignty and bring in world government. Joe Klein is a member of the Council on Foreign Relations that's sworn to that aim. I mean, go read what they write. They are the ones that want, just 2 months ago in their publication, called for 4,000 plus troops to be in every U.S. city, with the head of the army in there talking about how great it's going to be to have troops on the street. That's how we know what's coming. By the way, our report is at the top story on Drudge Report. DHS prepares for civil unrest as Obama poised to destroy Second Amendment. That's the article, but the article actually gets into surveillance drones have a new mission, according to the Department of Homeland Security. They will be used for public safety. Wait a minute, there were hundreds of articles last month saying InfoWars